So I would always go back to the referral source. And I would just always ask the question, hey, why?
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Let's just break down, even conceptually, some like messaging and response formats for each type. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So, the one thing I always tell folks when they're thinking about like, oh, something feels close to referral, but it's not, is always first is to check it against the definition. And we actually even have this like little mini program that we walk people through, like how to identify word of mouth buzz, introduction, warm lead versus a referral. Because again, identification is the first step. And then the second step being, okay, now what are the flip scripts that you can use to flip that into a referral? But basically what it comes down to is you being able to communicate back to the referral source what was missing, which is what made it not a referral. So when it's word of mouth buzz, we know the need has been identified because your brother-in-law said, hey, I just told someone about you that they need to, they're going to reach out to you, right? So we know the need is there, but the connection hasn't been made, right? So it's using that language to be able to flip it into a referral because now we need the connection. Or an introduction is you're connected to somebody, you just have no idea why. You're like, uh-oh, are they about to sell to me? Or am I about to sell to them? Like, I don't want to miss my opportunity. And I also don't want to get stuck in a sales call if I can avoid it. Like, because we don't know. The need has never been identified. We've just been connected to the random person who, there'll be great synergy with my air quotes. There'll be great synergy. You guys should know each other. You're awesome people. I'm not saying introductions are bad. I'm just saying we need to know what they are when they arrive. And so it's like, okay, so the connection's there, but not the need. And so I need to figure out what the need is. And most of the time for an introduction, you got to just go back to the referral source and you got to ask them like the why behind making that connection. So you can, to know, I always say there could very well be a hidden referral in that introduction. You just got to get to the information and figure out why you were introduced to this person. So it really comes down to identifying what's missing in each of the definitions and then using that as how you communicate back to the referral source so that they can provide that missing piece. Most of the time people do this though, they get all up in their heads about how do I say it and how do I not offend and how do I say it so that it'll actually produce the results that I want and that it won't scare them off from actually referring me in the future versus just not. And so I always tell folks, I was like, that's why we actually give a lot of language in our programs because people, they overthink it and they get themselves caught up in the moment of what to say. But at the end of the day, as long as you're putting the referral source and the prospect first in your communication. So it's not about you jumping in with your dog and pony show and going to attack them with your sales process. You're probably going to be fine. But yeah, it does come down to kind of understanding, hey, this is what's missing. And I need to communicate that back to my referral source so that they can help me close the gap.
And close the deal.
It's very interesting. Now that you break this down in such a way, I know Andrew and I, we can both think of a time where you're getting on a call, you're having a great chat, and now all of a sudden, somehow you're getting pitched on your own call.
I guarantee we're thinking of the same call. I guarantee me and you are thinking of exactly the same call. This happened to us recently, like very recently. We both got.
We're like, wait, what?
Yeah. And we were like, this is a referral. And by the way, this wasn't actually a referral for business either. So the intention wasn't for us to sell them anything. Like they didn't get to refer to us to like sell them a home or anything like that. It was just generally like an introduction, like shared common interests, commonalities, things like that. And then it just bizarrely turned into like us getting pitched. And I was like, hang on, what the fuck is going on?
Except that it wasn't bizarre. Right? They knew all along they were going to pitch you before they ever got on that call with you. To them, 100%. It may have been like presented as an introduction, but they were using it as a sneak attack.
Well, no, here's the thing. the person that introduced us, we haven't told them this happened, but I guarantee that was not their intention. Because like we've met this person a bunch of times now, and I would say we know them well enough. I'm completely leaving this completely ambiguous. I guarantee that was not the intention.
120%. It was not their intention.
So I don't
okay.
want
It wasn't a big deal. It was we're not going to hold it against them. The person is an amazing person to begin with, but now that we're kind of going back and you're breaking this down, it really makes us rethink of how we do the introduction. The reason why Andrew and I do introduction on a three-way email, a three-way call, a three-way text, where we kind of say what both parties are. We're identifying. It's kind of like what you're breaking down, Stacey. It's like saying, hey, so-and-so meet so-and-so. This is what they do. This is what they're looking for. And then we flip the script and say, hey, I'm connecting you because of this. This is the person. This is why I recommended you to begin with or referred you. So the handoff and the intent is way different than just ambiguously thinking of like, okay, I need to connect with this person, or I may necessarily not want to connect with this person. And then we just leave it up to them. So it's interesting from your perspective of how you break this down, because I've actually never heard it this way. It's such an easy way to follow. And one of the things that stood out, Stacey, that you just mentioned as well, it's like, have them or have you identify what's missing and then fill in the gaps. So if the need is missing, figure out if there is a need and move forward. Or, if the edification is missing, how do you identify those needs? Like how, and what do you say to kind of get it back into from a little bit of buzz to actually becoming a referral?
It's always interesting. I always find let's talk about from the introduction perspective that you guys got, right? So you received it. And if you knew in the moment this wasn't a referral for you, you may have not thought to do this. Maybe you will now after that experience. But I always think if you are connected to somebody, but there's no need identified, or the need's just vague, right? Hey, he does this and you do this, and I think you guys should know each other because this would be like great.
Oh, that's right? A classic all the time.
Right? Yeah, I know it's my favorite is, good people should know good people, right? Like you guys should know each other. And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with you growing your network by being connected to people who are just now one more person that you know out there in the world. But let's not confuse that with being referred a potential client. But if you think that's there, so, it's funny when I used to have this happen to me, I would always go back, and this is what I teach folks, I would always go back to the referral source. And I would just always ask the question, hey, why were you thinking we should be connected? Like, I just want to make sure I had the backstory behind it. And so, because the truth is when we don't have the backstory of why this person thinks that we should be connected, we don't know what's going to happen. And we don't have a frame of reference. We don't know if we're going to waste time. We may not give it the time and energy it deserves. We may overlook it. We may give it too much time and energy and then get burned. Like I always tell folks, it's okay when you just get connected with someone to go back and ask the question. So like recently I had somebody on LinkedIn reach out to me and they were like, hey, this guy from this group that I have I presented before to, so he knows what I do. He was like, he said that we should be connected and that I should get to know you. Well, in that moment, I'm like, okay, I know he knows what I do. I don't know who this person is that he has said you should go reach out to Stacey. So I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if we're going to get on a call and it literally is just two, I don't know, like business owner, working parents, working moms, and that's why we're being connected, or if there's some reason behind it. So my two options are to reach back out to this person before I'm willing to schedule time on my calendar and just ask the question like, hey, awesome. I'd love to know why so-and-so said we needed to be connected. Like It's just, and if you keep it light and breezy and easy and not like, why did he say we should be connected? Right. It's just like, oh, hey, so great to connect. That's awesome. I would love to know why, Sam thought we should be connected, and then let the conversation kind of progress before getting to the scheduling of a call. That's how you protect your time. Right. The other side of that is going to the Sam person and being like, hey, Sam, so-and-so just reached out to me on LinkedIn and said that you said we should be connected. I just wanted a little bit of the backstory. Can you tell me what you were thinking about when you told her to reach out to me? And it just gives that frame of reference in that moment of the why behind it. And it allows me to know, I don't know, was he actually referring her to me? He'll tell me if he was, more than likely. Or was it truly just, hey, no, she does this amazing thing. You do this amazing thing. I think you guys should know each other. And then I can plan accordingly as to how I make time and space in my world for someone like that.
Let's say, huge. I think this is going to be lesser of a case with you, maybe. I don't know. Actually, I won't make any assumptions. I think this could happen in real estate. It really depends on the agent. But the way I'm thinking about this is, say, like commercial versus residential, or say like pre-con versus residential, or buyer or seller agent specifically. Let's say, I'm just curious to hear how you'd react if you got a referral, someone sent you a referral that wasn't right. So I think an easy example for this is, let's say, people listening, they're a real estate agent, they just do listings, they're just a seller's agent. And then someone was like, yeah, I know a real estate agent. They kind of know you, they may chat it or whatever, but they don't know you just do seller. They know you just do real estate, right? And then they send you a bunch of buyers or a buyer over. How would you navigate that, like in a courteous manner? And, is there stuff that you can do there to like just to not damage that relationship between that other person as well, even though you don't necessarily know how strong that is, before we kind of dive into your final topic here?
So I think that's such a good question, because most people would just take it, right? They'd be like, oh, I just want them to keep referring me, so I'll just keep taking things that what we call aren't the right quality. And that's another thing that I teach to my clients is it's called the quality scripts. And it's the changing of the quality. So when we're not always going to get the perfect person referred to us. And that would be amazing if we did, but we don't always, your referral source doesn't always know all the details of the other person that they're about to refer to you. So like when their friend says, I really need a good agent because I really need to buy a new house because I'm having another child and we're bursting at the seams. What the referral source in that moment only knows, oh my gosh, you need to buy a house. I'm going to connect you to this amazing agent that I know. But what they don't know is that client maybe has crappy credit, right? Like there's all the unknowns. And so you're sometimes going to get people referred to you that are not qualified. It's normal. It's not the referral source's fault. And I think a lot of people are like, how do I train them to send me the right people? I'm like, first, stop using that language. They're not a dog. You're not going to train them to do exactly your bidding as exactly you want it, right? Like what you have to consider is that the quality of what they're referring to you. One bad referral is just that, one bad referral. We never do anything with our referral sources until we can identify a pattern of bad referrals. So a pattern of not being referred your ideal client. Once we've established a pattern, they keep sending me buyers and I only do listings, right? They keep sending me 22-year-olds who are trying to buy their first condo and I actually only work with people over 50. I don't know why someone would, but maybe they do, right? Like if there's a pattern of who they're sending to you, right? Then that's a conversation that we have. And it is like, to your point, it's really important to have that conversation in a way that protects the relationship. And the way you protect the relationship is by not allowing the referral source to get defensive. So you can't tell them, here's all the reasons why you've sent me these people and all the reasons why they were wrong for me and all the reasons why I couldn't help them. Right? You have to make that about you. You still have to show your gratitude for being referred those clients, but you got to make it about you and use that as a segue for them to understand who you actually do work with. And if you put it on yourself and like, I'm just so sorry I couldn't help these folks, right? Like if you put it on yourself and then explain who your ideal client is, it helps them feel like they're part of this process with you versus being told or trained or having you shake your finger at them that they somehow have been doing it wrong. So again, we never do this after one bad referred prospect. We do this when we can identify a pattern. And then we want to have a conversation. And here, let me just say this. I said the word conversation. I didn't say text or email. This is a conversation with your referral source. If you think they have potential to refer you more, they just need to kind of know who you actually able can help, then that's a conversation you need to have with them. And it's one of those things that once you have it once, you're like, okay, this was not as nearly as scary as I thought it would be. But it is about them understanding that, hey, it's not their fault. It's more on you than it is on them, but you do need them to understand who your ideal client is. And so that's how we always talk about it with our clients, of how to get started with that conversation. But it also comes first and foremost after a pattern identification, and you are willing to have a verbal conversation with someone. Phone is fine in the days of COVID. And not everybody's referral sources are local. So then definitely phone or Zoom would be fine. But if you can do it in person, even better, because then you can read their body language.
Yeah. 100%. I was actually discussing this earlier. I've discussed
it's just communication too.
Yeah, just good communication and like layers of empathy. I was literally discussing this today. The most, in person's the best, video call is second best, phone call is third, and then text is fourth. And the easy way for people to conceptualize this is why do keyboard warriors exist? Because there's no empathy, no feelings, no emotion shared through a written message. Right. So it can come off super cold and heartless. And yet in person, like it's really hard to do that, to not have someone to level with you. So I love it. So with that being said, thanks for answering that, because I was curious what you would do in that situation. Because saying no is sometimes you feel awkward. And like I've been there. I do it like, because I have a standard that I have to maintain. And it's like, thank you, but like this isn't the right fit. So I was genuinely curious about that. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Now, before you go, we're giving access to a private training we did where we revealed the top 3 niches to get listings today completely for free. So if you want access, you can go and download that training at eliteagentsecrets.com. We're regularly releasing new trainings, guides and cheat sheets, so make sure to head over to eliteagentsecrets.com and sign up so you don't miss out.